back. So in this video we're basically gonna learn how can we basically go ahead and sketch all these equations that you guys can see over here. So by this end of this video you will be able to draw a graph only by given an equation over here. Okay, so there's gonna be 5 parts to this video over here, so make sure to watch out all the parts. The link to all of those are in the description below. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Okay, so we have our first one over here, and there are basically 8 steps to solving these questions. Okay, so the first steps we're gonna go over them step by step. The first step is always to determine the domain of the function. Okay, how can we figure out the domain? Well, if we had the rational function, we go ahead and make the denominator equals to 0, and we can figure out the domain. However, here as you guys can see, this is a polynomial, and the polynomials basically exist everywhere. So the domain of this one is basically real numbers. It exists everywhere. Okay, so we're done with the first step right now. And what is basically our step 2? So the step 2 is always to differentiate the function. So figure out the first derivative and also the second derivative. Okay, so let's go ahead and perform the step 1 and step 2. We're gonna go ahead and differentiate this expression that I'm given over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the derivative of this expression over here. I get 3x squared negative 12x plus 9. Okay, so now I'm gonna take the second derivative. So now I'm gonna take the derivative of this f prime that I have. Okay, so that is basically gonna give me 6x negative 12. Okay, so now I have my f prime, and now I have my f prime prime. So now I'm gonna move on to step number 3. Okay, so what is my step number 3? Step number 3 is basically to determine the critical points, which is by making f of c equals to 0. So the critical point basically get by making the first derivative equals to 0, and you basically have to determine the inflection point as well, which is making the second derivative equals to 0. Okay, so I have my first and second derivative, so I basically have to make them equals to 0. So the first one, the f prime equals to 0. So if I make this equals to 0, I can go ahead and factor out an x from this equation over here. So if I go ahead and factor out the 3 from this equation, I get this one. So now I can basically go ahead and divide by this 3. So this 3 is basically going to be cancelled out, because if I go ahead and divide this by 3, so 3 both sides, so here I'm going to be left with only 1, and on the other side I will basically have a 0. So now I can go ahead and factor this out. So now I can go ahead and simplify this out. So what are the two numbers? If you go ahead and multiply this one this, so you get a 3. So you have to basically figure out two numbers such that you multiply them, you get 3. And if you add them, you're gonna get negative 4. Okay, so I have my 0. So now if I go ahead and solve them, I get x equals to 1, and I also get x equals to 3. So I get these ones. So I basically get 2 points as my critical points. Okay, so I have this as my critical points, x equals to 1 and x equals to 3. So now what about the inflection point? Okay, so now I have to make my second derivative equals to 0. Okay, so I have my second derivative, and now I have to make this one equals to 0. In here, I make this equals to 0. So this is 12, so this is 6x. So my x is basically gonna be 2 in this case. Okay, so here my inflection point are basically, so this x equals to c. So this is my critical point, and this is my inflection point. So once I have my inflection point and critical point, now my step number 4 is basically to figure out the intervals, basically to determine the intervals of the increasing and decreasing, and concave up and concave down. Okay, so how can I figure that out? I have my interval given to me like this one. Okay, so I have it from negative infinity to basically positive infinity, but I know there is an inflection, there's a critical point at x equals to 1. Okay, and there's also a critical point at x equals to 3, and there's also an inflection point at x equals to 2. So this is what makes my interval. So I have my first interval as negative infinity to 1. I have the second one as 1 to 2. I have the third one as 2 to 3, and the third one and the fourth one as 3 to positive infinity. Okay, so I have these intervals given to me. So now what I do, I arbitrarily choose any value from these intervals, and then I'm gonna have my f prime over here. Okay, so I can move this to the above. Okay, and I have my f prime prime. So I have figured out an equation of my f prime. So this is f prime, this is f prime prime. So I'm gonna choose any value from here. So negative infinity to 1. So let's say I'm gonna choose f of 0. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it into this equation over here. So if I go ahead and plug it into this equation, 0, so f prime, so I get 0, 0. So I basically get a 9. So I basically end up getting a positive 9. So because I end up getting a positive 9, so that is a positive number I get. So that means the sign that I get over here is basically gonna be positive in here. Okay, and what about, okay, so now what about for f prime prime? So similarly, I'm gonna choose any value from this interval that I see over here. So I can choose any value within this number. So let's go ahead and choose the same value because it belongs to the same interval as well. So if I choose 0 again, so now for the f prime prime, the second derivative, so I basically get a negative 12. So since I get a negative 12 by plugging in 0 inside this equation over here, so I get a negative value. I just look at the sign, I get a negative, so that means this is basically negative. So I basically end up doing the same thing, putting into the f prime function any arbitrary value within this interval now, 1 to 2. So I can go ahead and choose 1.5. so if I plug in 1.5 into the f prime function, I basically end up getting negative 2.25. so I get a negative sign over here. Okay, so I'm gonna, if I put in a 1.5 into this equation, I basically get 3, which is basically I basically end up getting a negative 3. So here in this case I'm gonna have a negative. Okay, so similarly I'm gonna do in here as well. So f of 2.5, that is basically gonna give me negative 2.25. so I get a negative value. Okay, so f prime prime of 2.5, so that was f prime, so that is basically give me a positive 3, so I get a positive value in here. Okay, so here I can choose a 4 in here. Okay, so in here I can be I can basically choose a 4 in here. So this is gonna give me a positive 9, and for f prime and the f prime prime, that is basically gonna give me, so that is basically going to give me a 12, and both of them basically end up giving me positive and positive. Okay, so that basically tells you kind of the shape of the graph. Okay, so because this one is basically telling you that your function is positive, so every time you get f prime as positive, that means your function is increasing. Okay, so your function is decreasing over here because its f prime is negative, the slope of the tangent line is negative. So if the function is negative, function is increasing. Okay, the slope of the tangent line, which is represented by f prime. Okay, so f prime prime, that is basically going to tell you whether the function is concave up or concave down. If you get a negative value, that means it's concave down, concave down. If you get a positive value, that is concave up, concave up. So you basically figured out that within this interval over here, your function is basically going to be increasing, concave up, and within this interval, it's going to be decreasing, concave down. Okay, so similarly all these cases, and because so now you're able to figure out your graph only by looking at these values over here. So I can basically go ahead and draw my graph by looking at these values that I figured out. So I know my interval from negative infinity to 1 is basically going to be increasing. Okay, so like increasing but concave down, like bending downwards. Okay, so in this case I'm going to have a decreasing function, however it's going to be bending downwards, concave down. Okay, so in this case I'm gonna have a decreasing function as well, but this one is gonna be concave up, like bending upwards. Okay, so in this one I'm gonna have an increasing function as well, but however this is gonna be concave up. Okay, so this is what I have figured out. So after that, okay, so once I have written this one, so now I can move on to my step number 5. Okay, so now I move to step number 5, which is basically to determine the local max and min and the inflection point. Okay, so the extremas and the inflection point, you can go ahead and figure this out using this one as well. So here what you guys can see, because every time there's going to be positive to negative, so that means my function is basically increasing over here, and then afterwards it went to suddenly decreasing because there's a change in sign from positive to negative. So that means there has to exist either local max or min. If there was no change in sign, so there was no local min or max, because it function went from increasing and then decreasing, that means here you have a local max in this case. Okay, so you have basically a local max at what value? At x equals to 1, because there it was between 1. Okay, so here is 1 1, so it is going to be at x equals to 1. So you just gonna write over here, so you basically have a local max at x equals to 1. Okay, and where else do you see? So here you see it's the function was negative, and then it went from positive, so it was decreasing, then it went from increasing. So in this case we're gonna have a local min. So we also have a local min here at x equals to what value? At x equals to 3. Okay, so we basically have at x equals to 3. So we have at x equals to 3 our local max, our local min in this case. So now because we know the x values, so now because we know the x values, so let's just go ahead and put them inside the original function right now, because we're trying to figure out the value of the y. Okay, so if we go ahead and plug in into the original function that was given to us, so this original function that you had, okay, so we just gonna go ahead and plug it inside the original function. So f of 1, that basically gonna give you 4, and we're gonna plug in f of 3 as well. So that is okay, so we just gonna put x equals to 3 inside the original function, that is gonna give you 0. Okay, so now that means we have our points as 1 4, and we also have the second point as 3 0. Okay, so we are basically okay, so we have basically arrived at this and this. So we basically have two And so we basically have 2 points given to us, and we also know the shape of the graph, so this will basically help us figure out things. Okay, so now we can also determine the inflection point. Inflection point is basically a point where the curve is basically changing the shape. Okay, so if it went from concave down to up, or like vice versa, so that means there's an inflection point. So here, as you can see, negative negative, so there was no change. Both of them concave down. Here you guys can see concave up, so there was no change in sign. However, in this case, you guys can see there is a change. So you went from negative to positive, so there was a change in sign in the f prime function this time. So you went from concave down to concave up, so that means there has to exist an inflection point at basically x equals to 2. Okay, so that means you basically have an inflection point at x equals to 2, and that is what you figured out at the top as well, because when you were doing, so you guys see at x equals to 1 and 3 you had critical points, and at x equals to 2 you had inflection point at x equals to 2. So that you can also determine this by, or you can also verify this using this graph that you have made over here. So your points that you figured out as critical point at 1 and 3 and x equals to 2, that does make sense. Okay, so now once you have those, so let's go ahead and plug it into the original function f of 2. So you're basically gonna getting a 2. So now you have another point given to you as 2 2. Okay, so you are basically given 3 points now. Okay, so we can move on to step number 6. Okay, so if we go ahead and move to step 6, but that is basically to determine the horizontal asymptote as vertical asymptote, if there exists any. Well, vertical asymptote only exists when you are dividing by 0. Because you have horizontal, the function that you are given is basically a polynomial function. It exists everywhere, so there's no vertical asymptote. So there's no vertical asymptote over here, so there's no vertical asymptote. However, the horizontal asymptote, you can always figure it out by making the limit as x approaches infinity. So your original function is basically x cubed minus 6x squared plus 9. Okay, so you plus 9x. Okay, so you have this as your original function given to you, and because we are approaching it as x approaches infinity, we're only going to take the highest degree in here, so x to the power of 3. So we're going to only take it as this one. If you guys are not sure how to figure out the limit as at infinity, I've already made a lot of videos on that. Make sure to review that by going through my videos and check out the calculus 1 playlist. Okay, so in there you will find a lot of videos related to infinity. Okay, so now you guys can see, so that is basically gonna be equals to infinity, and similarly you're gonna figure out for x equals to negative infinity as x approaches 3, that is basically gonna be negative infinity. Okay, so now you have your horizontal asymptotes at x equals to infinity and okay, so you basically have your two horizontal asymptotes at infinity and negative infinity. So as x approaches infinity, your y is basically going to approach infinity, and as x approaches negative infinity, your y is basically going to approach negative infinity. Okay, so now you have your horizontal asymptotes as well. So now we can move on to step number 7, which is basically to figure out the intercepts. Okay, so because we're trying to figure out the intercepts, we basically are going to take our original function. So the original function that we have, so okay, so we're basically going to take our original function and try to figure out the x and y intercepts. Okay, so to figure out the intercepts, first we're gonna make the x equals to 0. So if I make my x equals to 0, I basically get y equals to 0. So I have my 0 0, the origin as the 1 point over here for the intercepts, and now if I'm trying, so that basically gives me y intercepts. And now if I want to figure out my x intercept, I basically have to make the whole equation equals to 0. So I have to make my y equals to 0 and figure out the values for which it gives me so for which it gives me y equals to 0. So now I can factor out an x in this equation, so that means the x is basically going to be cancelled out. So here this can be broken down into two equations. So x equals to 2 and x squared negative 6x plus 9 equals to 0. So I basically have to factor out an x from this, and this equation that you guys see, it's basically so this equation that you guys see, that is basically x negative 3 and then x negative 3 over here as well. So because I have to figure out two numbers such that if you multiply them you get you get 9, and if you add them you get negative 6. So those two numbers are negative 3 negative 3, so you basically get this. So that is basically equivalent to x negative 3 squared, and now you have this one equals to 0. So your first point is x equals to 0, and the second one is x negative 3 equals to 0. So that means it has to be x equals to 3. Okay, so you get your intercepts as x equals to 0, 0 and 3. So your 2 points are basically gonna be, so your 2 points are basically gonna be 0, 0, and you also have 3, 0. Okay, so now you just figured out your intercepts as well. Okay, so now once you have your, right now your intercepts, you have your increasing decreasing function, you know when it's concave up, concave down, you know the horizontal asymptotes and the vertical asymptotes. Okay, and you have the domain of the function, and you have your critical points and the inflection points, and you have your local max and min as well. So you basically know everything about the graph. So now you have just pieces of them, and right now you're just gonna combine all the pieces. Okay, so and then make it into a nice looking puzzle. So you're just about to solve the puzzle by combining all the pieces and make a nice looking graph. Okay, so that is basically what we're gonna do in step number 8, which is combining all the pieces together. Okay, and I know writing all these notes, it's really difficult for you guys along with watching this video. So if you guys are having difficulties writing these notes, so I have packed all the notes of this calculus 1 playlist, this whole playlist from video 1 to from the first video to the last video. All the videos I have put the notes of those. So I have put all the notes. You can always find them by scanning this QR code, and the link to all the notes is also given in the description below. So do check out the notes, and you can always buy them. Okay, so and you can always buy them from this link over here. Okay, so now let's continue with this video over here. So now let's go ahead and pack everything together, and let's go ahead and finally make the graph of this so let's go ahead and finally make the graph. Okay, so now we know our first point is basically 0, 0, which is the origin, and we know the intercepts as 3, 0. So we also know there is an x-intercept at 0, 3, 0, and we also know there is a point at 2 and 2. So here you guys see we have figured out that there was a point 2, 2. Okay, so we already know that as well, and we also know that we have a local max at x equals to 1 and 4. Okay, so I also know another point which is basically from 1, and you have your 4 in this case as well. Okay, so 1 to 4, which is basically the maximum point of this curve. Okay, so now how does the shape of the curve basically looks like? So I know, and I look at my intervals in here, so I know from negative infinity to -1 my graph is basically looking like this. Okay, so from negative infinity to 1, okay, so negative infinity it's like this, and until 1 my graph is basically looking like this. Okay, and I know there's a point in here. Okay, so I know my graph is basically looking like this in here. Okay, and now moving on to the next part is basically from 1 to 2. So from 1 to 2 I know that my function is basically looking like this. From 1 to 2 my function is basically gonna look like this. Okay, so I know I'm gonna go ahead and draw the graph like this one, and from 2 to 3, and from 2 to 3 I know it's gonna look like this, and it also has to touch this one because that is the intercept. Okay, so that means it's gonna look like this one, and afterwards at x equals to 3 to positive infinity I know it's gonna look like this one. Okay, so it's gonna look like this one. So that basically completes our point, and as you guys can see there is basically a maximum. As you guys can see, that is the local max, local min, and the inflection point that we figured out is basically this one. So this is basically the inflection point, as you guys can see, because the curve has changed the shape at this point. It went from concave down to basically concave up at this point, and the as x approaches infinity, and okay, so as x approaches infinity, so y is basically approaching infinity. As x approaches negative infinity, y is basically approaching negative infinity. So everything makes sense. So all the points that we have figured out, make sense. So I hope this video was helpful. So let's go ahead and solve the second question in the next video, and make sure to watch out the next part of this video by clicking on this button over here. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.